All right, next up on chapter 6, the title for the life cycles reading is Helpful Traits. And I'm pretty sure DiMaggio has some helpful traits that keep him alive in the deserts of Australia. See if you can think of those as I read. Helpful traits. The big question, which traits are helpful to organisms and which traits are not? The vocab, advantage, a factor that helps an organism. The other word is survive, which means to stay alive. Remember katydids. It is harder for predators to spot a green katydid on a green leaf. It is easier to spot a pink one on a green leaf. So, pink katydids on a green leaf are more easily eaten than green ones. The green katydids has a trait that is an advantage. An advantage is something that is helpful to an organism. And one thing with bearded dragons, when they're in the desert, they look more orange and yellow, and then when they're in the shade, they can get a little bit darker, so they blend in to be safe from predators. Look at the two foxes. Which one do you think will have an easier time sneaking up on prey in a snowy north? Wow, one definitely blends in. The fox that catches more food will have a better chance of surviving in the winter. When an organism has an advantage over other members of its population, it is more likely to survive and reproduce. Organisms that survive live to become an adult, and adults reproduce. The fox that blends into the environment is more likely to catch prey and survive. Helpful traits. The large ground finch is a bird with an unusually large beak. Charles Darwin was a famous scientist who first observed this species in the Galapagos Island. Scientists knew that this bird was very similar to other finches living on nearby islands, but this one had a larger beak. Darwin wondered if this large beak gave the finch an advantage in its environment. Darwin's observations showed that there were a lot of plants with very hard seeds in the finch's environment. The large ground finch was able to crack the hard seeds because it had such a large, strong beak. Darwin discovered other finches in the Galapagos Island. He found the warbler finch with a much smaller pointed beak. This beak shape helps the warbler finch catch insects in the small holes. Darwin saw a woodpecker finch with a longer beak. This beak shape helps the woodpecker finch use twigs to catch grubs and worms. This guy loves grubs. Different species of finches had different kinds of beaks, but each species had an advantage over other finches in the environment. The large ground finch has a thick, strong beak that helps it crack hard seeds. Helpful or not, it depends on the environment. A physical trait can either be helpful or harmful. It depends on the organism's environment. The prairie dog digs burrows in the ground. The burrow has a small opening that predators can't fit through easily. A prairie dog born with long legs will probably run faster above ground than its siblings. This would be helpful for escaping predators. But the prairie dog hides from its predators in tiny burrows. If its legs are longer, it may not move well in tight burrow spaces. The burrow for a prairie dog with longer legs would need to have a larger opening. A predator could get into that burrow easily. So a prairie dog with longer legs might be more easily caught by a predator. Oh, it's kind of cute. Some traits help reproduction. The green color of the katydid can help it blend in. A thick beak can help a finch crack seeds, but some traits exist to help an animal attract a mate. If an animal attracts a mate, it's more likely to reproduce. Colorful skin patterns or feathers are some of the traits that can help animals attract mates. I know fish and birds, usually the males are the colorful ones. The Inca tern is a bird that grows long feathery tufts on its head. The tufts look like a white mustache. I should get one of those. This colorful decoration tells other terns that it is healthy and a good choice for a mate. Well, if you need to smile, just look at that face. An Inca tern with a long, bright mustache will attract more mates than a tern with a smaller mustache. This helpful trait makes it more likely that the tern will reproduce. The tern will pass this trait on to its offspring. The white mustache of the Inca tern helps it attract its mates. Helpful traits in plants. Let's not forget about plants. Plants also have many physical traits to help them survive. Some traits help plants survive in harsh environments. Other traits help protect plants from animals that might eat them. Some traits help plants reproduce by attracting pollinators. The Mojave Desert is a large, dry environment. Plants and animals have little water to survive. Many animals get their water by eating plants. Just like this guy, he doesn't drink much water, but he gets enough water from the fruit and vegetables that he eats. For desert plants to survive, they must have traits that protect them from thirsty animals. Chala cactus has an obvious trait that gives it protection. The plant is covered in sharp spines. Now it'd be cholla. The spines are dense and long. Few animals can reach the plant parts that hold water. Some cholla cacti have more spines than others. A cholla cactus with more spines is less likely to be eaten. If it survives long enough, the plant will produce flowers and then reproduce. Desert plants like the cholla cactus use sharp spines to protect them from thirsty animals. A trait can be a disadvantage. Some animals are born without color in their skin or hair. They are usually white all over and have pink eyes. These animals are called albinos or albinos. In some situations, this really might help an individual. But it can also be a trait that is harmful. With white fur or skin, it is hard for an animal to hide from predators. If an albino is a predator, it is hard for the animal to sneak up on its prey. Also, albinos often do not see as well as other members of their population. It would be the end of the normal school day. Also, albinos often do not see as well as other members of the population. These traits can make it harder for an albino to survive. This is an example of a harmful trait in animals. Look at the albino alligator in this picture. The alligator is easy to see against the dark background. Birds, mammals, and other prey can easily see the alligator too. This tells them to stay away. It will be hard for this alligator to get food. This alligator's white color is not an advantage. Albino animals like this alligator have a hard time hiding in their environment. The next chapter we'll read next week, chapter 7, is traits, survival in differing environments. Thanks for listening.